So tonight, Sophie has shared with us our first video of teaching in the classroom, and we are going to do a Critical Friends feedback form. And we're going to use our Google Doc to record our very helpful suggestions to Sophie.
I particularly liked the engagement that you have with the students at a informal level. And the humor, but it made you accessible.
I'm not there yet.
Kathy, are you there? All right. Made you accessible. That is a great
Approachable.
word.
Approachable, perhaps.
You were present in the room. I like that. I particularly liked Sophie's analysis of the student in the background who was on task. It was good feedback for her to notice that in the video.
I would have referred to it as a pleasant surprise.
An aha moment.
An aha moment. All right. Okay.
I particularly liked in the first one that we saw, I particularly liked the way that that Sophie was having the kids comment not just on the thing itself, but they were commenting on each other's answers to the problem. Do I have that right?
Yes.
I think that that's very key for their understanding of what they're learning.
Okay, and then this is where I need help then, resources, because I find that the kids will have no problem commenting on something that I put up, but they have a very difficult time commenting on each other's work or each other's suggestions. Or
So they're not a good
comments.
critical friend.
They are not, and I think
Sorry.
no.
Would dare I say, would something on the nature of a rubric make it easier for them? Because then they would be able to kind of like some kind of guide towards commenting, so that would increase their comfort level, or would it not?
No, I
increase their
think that's a
comfort?
really good suggestion.
Or
So
what
we
about
tend to-
What about sentence starters?
Oh, that's
Like, okay.
no, that's
Like I
good.
noticed this in your.
Right. No, those are good, and I mean I tend to just leave things very open ended for kids.
I
Like I
felt
tend not to
ridicule when-
structure
Right.
a lot of that, as Dean pointed out at the last meeting, that I am at the opposite end of the spectrum, where I just like to just throw it out there. And
But some kids need the security of structure.
That's
They
very
do
true.
need the parameter, and they're going to step over it, and
Yeah.
you allow them to step over it, but they do need that sense of
Yeah, no,
security
that's
that
true.
is provided from it, right?
No, that's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
I would
What
agree
other
with
math
that.
labs have you done outside? That's what I wondered about. Like what other
Lots
kinds of things?
measurement labs and things, but I try to get them out like
I wonder
kind of
if-
in motion, right? A lot of just.
I wonder how you checked their calculations, their work.
Oh, because I've
Gone out there
I've
and
tested all of the
Levels.
freestanding, like all of the tall objects around the building.
oh, so you have a good idea of what
So
they're
then they do it on paper. They record it on paper as
Yeah.
well, because they have to. I mean, they can't just record it on nothing, right? And then they come back in, and then they have to rotate clockwise. Like, so one person has to leave their group, take their paper, and go to another group. And so then they check their works, and sometimes they've
So
done the
you're-
same object, but sometimes they've done another one, and then they talk about, did that measurement make sense?
Right.
I
you're
like
You're
that
making
question
sure
that you
they're
said that.
ballpark.
Did this make sense? Because it made them think math.
Well, here's
Because
the biggest
otherwise,
mistake they do.
right.
When you're measuring from the clinometer, that's not a right angle triangle, because you are 6 feet off the ground, or 5
Right.
feet or whatever. And so that typically was the biggest mistake that kids made, was they forgot to include their measurement at the end, right, to figure
Their
out
height.
the height of the adjacent side of the triangle, or
Right.
the opposite side of the triangle.
So you
sorry.
were stressing, did it make sense or
Did their
not-
answer make
not
sense?
was it exact? Like
Exactly.
if you had two
You c-
people measure the same thing and they were off by a couple feet, then
That
they're
wasn't my,
close.
and I mean, the reality is if you do this lab properly, you will get almost exact measurements. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the nature of the beauty of trig ratios and right angle triangles, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, but mostly it was more getting connected too, like getting feedback from each other, like, and together as a group, problem solving. Like, here's where you must have gone wrong, because there's no way that the bus stop was 4 feet tall, right?
Right. Didn't make
The
sense.
bus stop sign, yeah. And can you see that? And then the kids, you'd see some kids going, oh yeah, there's no way it could be 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's shorter
Yeah.
than I am. So what did you forget? And then they go, you know.
But
So
it is
that-
getting them to think critically.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, it's good for the kids who are not sit and get, you know, kind of learners to get
Right.
out there and then to actually take the abstract math that you see in a textbook or whatever and put it to real use and go, there's
Okay, so here's a thought. So if you attach what you did in your outside math lab to the workflow, because there's going to be a lot of chaos out there. There's going to be a lot of off task, right?
surprisingly not a whole lot.
Not as
but
much?
No.
So if you paralleled that to, okay, the value of video and the workflow and, right?
The time
Do you know what
it
I'm
takes-
saying?
I completely get what you're trying to say, Marilyn, is that even though there's trials and tribulations and some
Right.
time wasted, it's
Right.
not really wasted because the payoff in
The
the
value
end
added,
is that
right?
there's been some real learning
Right.
and some peripheral learning too, because now you've learned how to upload something or whatever. But
Yes.
in the meantime, there's a lot of good, for me, in my subject area, there's a lot of math talk that happens
Right.
incidentally. Like,
Yes.
do you know what I mean? As these kids were talking through issues and laughing about measuring a flagpole or Winston Churchill or whatever.
Yep.
In reality, what I'm seeing is some true learning and some kids making connections. Like, does this have anything to do with those guys from SciAS that we see out there with that survey stuff? Like, is
Right.
that, you know? So they're making
Yep. Connections to
connections.
jobs,
I don't know.
possibilities,
I
future.
think it's worthwhile. And you know what? It is fun, and that's important because if I can get them to buy into the class and to say, you know, every once in a while we do get to go outside and do stuff like that,
And can I
I think-
add that to I particularly liked, I just put that on, that I really liked that the kids were learning together. They
Yeah.
were learning
It
from
was-
each other.
it was
Yes.
collaborative.
That's, I really
Did they
liked
And
get
it
to
is
make it?
differentiation. And this is our
I just thought it was
first rendition of our reflection of a critical friend.